You know what really drives me crazy is watching how in today's day and age, in the year of our Lord 2026, there are still people who truly trust and believe everything a multi-billion or multi-trillion dollar corporation literally says to them every single time. And we've seen this kind of thing play out and happen already. People just trusting companies for no particular reason, and then going around and believing that these companies have their own best interests at heart as a user, when in reality, that's not the case. One perfect example was Discord, when they were asking everybody for their photo ID, then taking those photo IDs and putting them over to a company called Persona, a side shot of Palantir. Not a good thing if you ever Googled those two companies either. I would definitely do that before you send your picture to any other company whatsoever. Just a heads up. But the crazier part is that these companies like Persona and etc. were getting hacked, and all those IDs and all those face scans and everything else by those users was then dumped out all over the internet, practically just doxing all of those people that trusted that company in the first place, and then getting all their information spread online in the worst possible sense. What did Discord do? They wrote some long-winded actual post on their website saying, "We're sorry, it won't happen again." And there's a reason why I bring up that story. PlayStation now is attempting to figure out a way to capture those face scans and making them more fun and entertaining for you as a user. And don't worry, I'll explain how. On top of that, it turns out that PlayStation is apparently not going away from PC gaming. In fact, they may be doubling down after some people found this new job posting as well. So I guess it turns out that all these companies do in fact lie. And here's the first one. According to VGC, Sony has announced the Player Base, a new community program where players can win the opportunity to be scanned into PlayStation games. One player will get the chance to be scanned and appear in Gran Turismo 7 as a limited time character portrait. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, Alex, it's just a contest. What does this have to do with anything at all? Why would you be so freaked out about this? Well, this is exactly how companies begin to normalize specific behaviors. We've already seen how this kind of thing, in fact, happens. If you look at any NBA 2K game, you can literally scan your face and they can take that image and apply it directly in game. How do you think they get that information in the first place, by the way? It's all done because you purposely give that data and information to that company. It goes to their servers, and then they go ahead and apply it to your game live while you're online and even playing as well. This is not some fun little project. No, this is exactly what PlayStation is trying to do to coerce people into scanning their faces to then comply with the other ID verification laws that are coming down the pipe. And if you think I'm getting a little bit out of reach, think about it from this perspective. PlayStation has been the only company besides Nintendo who has been incredibly quiet about ID verification and how they're going to be trying to scan your actual face to determine your age for their ability to in fact follow the laws that are being put into place right now, as scary as that might be. But you see though, there's more to this tinfoil hattery than you could actually imagine. So don't worry, come along for the ride. It's gonna be a fun one. With the article saying this, players can visit the Player Base website where they have to sign in with their PlayStation account ID and answer some questions about their experiences on PlayStation. Sony will then select a limited number of finalists who will take part in video interviews where they speak more about themselves and their connection to PlayStation. From these video interviews, one applicant will be chosen to appear in Gran Turismo 7 as part of the Player Base, where they will appear for a limited time as an in-game character portrait. Now, I know what you're thinking, Alex, again, it's just a contest. Why would you even be upset at this at all? They're going to be doing interviews and videos and scanning someone's face to be putting in a game. How is that bad for us as a consumer, and why is this a problem? Well, it turns out that this is going to be coinciding directly with what PlayStation, in fact, bought a couple of days ago. Remember this? According to GameDeveloper.com, Sony to acquire a machine learning company, Cinemmersive Labs. Now, if you don't know what Cinemmersive Labs does, they take standard 2D images and then use their machine learning tech to go ahead and make them look almost 3D. Isn't that a bit interesting when you think about things and put them together? I mean, when you buy a company that has an AI that basically takes any image that you upload and scan into it and makes it into a 3D image, that really does put a couple of things into question as to why PlayStation would have bought that in the first place. If PlayStation can go ahead and bypass a lot of the new laws being put into place by the UK and other world governments by saying, we're taking everybody's face scans, we're just coercing them into doing that by putting them into the game as well, and they're willingly participating. That could be an easier way of them getting around all the new laws being placed as well. And if you think I'm reaching too far, take a look at what PlayStation even said themselves. Saying, quote, over time, we look forward to expanding the player base as additional PlayStation studios participate, having fans featured in ways that fit each game's own style and world. Sony Interactive Entertainment Vice President of Global Marketing, Isabel Tomatis, said, stay tuned for more updates. Now think about it from this perspective. What if PlayStation just expanded the player base out more than just a contest? What if they attached that kind of thing to your profile and then allowed you to upload your scanned face and place it into any game they want with that new team that PlayStation just bought and using that 3D vector image of your own face in that game? However, though, they keep that data, they keep that information, they keep that face scan, and it is now in their servers and being manipulated by AI itself. Not a really fun thing to think about when you put all those pieces together, especially with what we talked about recently on this channel on top of that. Look, personally, I'm going to be saying this. Do not scan your face on any app whatsoever and then upload it to a website or to a company that you think you might trust. That is the worst thing to actually do. These companies are not going to take care of your data. What they are going to do, though, is find ways of coercing you into uploading that information, whether or not you can put your face into a video game like NBA 2K6, or even then provide any sort of like fun little competition where you can send videos of yourself to a company as well so they can have that information too and keep even more personal data about you as well. Think about how many people are going to be basically applying for this kind of contest, sending in their information, videos, pictures, whatever have you, just to be in the span of a video game, just for a couple of months, I bet, maybe even a couple of weeks in Gran Turismo. So you see a little picture pop up, really totally unnecessary completely. But the thing is, though, PlayStation isn't just done there. I'm not the only one reacting this way to this entire announcement. In fact, Twitter's been having a bit of a field day, with John Muncher on Twitter saying, this day and age, anything touting upload yourself feels like less of a selling point and more of a please give us more data. You've already got enough. I'm not giving you more. And I completely agree with that sentiment. If the player base of what PlayStation is putting together is just a new way of them trying to coerce IDs and face scans out of you, it's going to be an incredibly dangerous precedent, especially if they try to do it with basically every other user they have with their 90 million console player base. The problem, though, is what happens when that data is no longer safely tucked away or even taken care of by PlayStation and gets leaked all over the internet. That could be a massive problem. But speaking of problems, things don't end there for PlayStation, because according to Hazard Gaming on Twitter, it looks like they may in fact still be doubling down on PC. With Hazard Gaming on Twitter saying this, the PlayStation Store is being revamped with a server overhaul and cross-platform support as per new job listing, saying, quote, building a new server architecture without being bound by existing frameworks. Oh boy, here we go. This has been the talk of the town online for the past few weeks, especially after Jason Schreier's reporting saying that PlayStation is going to be moving away from putting their single-player tentpole titles onto the PC platform. Apparently, though, they're still going to be putting multiplayer live service games on there, but not the single-player ones, which really makes no sense because in my personal opinion, you still want to sell all of your games, not just some of them. But okay, whatever. I guess we're just being But it looks like this new job listing may be what everybody has been looking into as to what will happen with PlayStation in the future. With the article from Phrasemaker saying this: with an increasing pressure from gaming giants like Steam and Xbox, which are expanding their ecosystems beyond their platforms, it seems Sony doesn't want to be left behind either. In fact, the Phrasemaker has come across a job listing from SIE for an engineer to revamp the PlayStation Store with changes that would rebuild the entire server architecture from scratch, as well as add cross-platform features for the next generation. The server-side engineer, PlayStation Network voice chat function development position at SIE would be responsible for, quote, building a new server architecture without being bound by existing frameworks. It's important to note that the description further states that this project is in the consideration phase and is likely reserved for the next generation. Now, this is where things are going to get incredibly strange, and personally, here's where I think things are going to go. I do not think PlayStation is going to pull away all of their games off of PC, even the single-player tentpole title ones. No, I think they're still going to be putting those games onto the PC platform. What I think is going to be happening instead, though, is I think PlayStation is going to be having their own specific launcher. And I think what they're going to be doing is moving forward, no longer putting their games onto Steam and forcing everybody on PC to use their PlayStation launcher to have voice chat, communication between cross-platform, and even putting their games onto that storefront instead, thereby completely circumventing the Xbox Project Helix, trying to go ahead and say, you know what, our launcher won't work on that hardware, or even at the same time the Steam machine as well, seeing as how the PlayStation overlay doesn't work on Linux either, and avoiding that completely. Two massive competitors they can just cut out on their way, while still trying to gain any sort of momentum and even actual monthly active users from the PC space onto their side as well, even if it's going to be a lot more minimal and compete directly with Steam in the first place. And if you still doubt me, don't worry. There's more to the article that basically proves my point. Check it out. The gaming giant is finally providing cross-platform support, with SIE looking to enhance communication with new features such as voice chat for multi-platform support across mobile and PC. The job description, in fact, reads: PlayStation Network is one of the world's leading massive network services, with over 100 million monthly active user accounts. We are currently working to further enhance the communication features that connect players worldwide and to develop new features, voice chat functionality for multi-platform deployment, console, PC, and mobile. Live service titles like Bungie's Marathon or Helldivers 2 will continue to release on desktop PCs and launch on day one. It seems Sony is doubling down on the live service trend and wants to attract more players, since there's no other explanation for the PlayStation Store being revamped if they are pulling the majority of the first-party releases. And honestly, that's why I can totally see a PlayStation PC launcher being developed or even put into motion. Not about removing games from PC, but removing games from PlayStation and putting them on their own store launcher, thereby cutting out any of the middleman and trying to grow the monthly active users. Right now, though, the only way to communicate across multiple storefronts and even platforms is to use Discord, a third-party application that tries to take your ID. Now instead, PlayStation wants you to willingly give them your face scan and ID, put you into the game, and then have you use their online voice communication protocol to play games with other people instead across multiple platforms. Oh, that's where all of this is coming together now. The thing is, though, I'm not the only one that thinks this, and it looks like some other people could in fact be thinking the exact same thing. With Red Gaming Tech on Twitter saying this: I am on the fence about PlayStation ports. I really don't know, but I can confirm the Nixis update. You can use the Wayback Machine to compare text. March 28th on the left versus the current text, which specifies high quality PC ports. And you can see the images right here with Nixis on March 28th saying the industry leading Dutch studio with more than 20 years of experience in game development and optimization. With the update for Nixis, saying this: Netherlands-based studio with engineering teams specialized in high-quality PC ports and art design teams co-developing games with PlayStation Studios. And honestly, I'm on the entire fence too. I could see PlayStation being incredibly petty enough to say, we're not going to put our single-player tentpole titles on PC. Forget them. We'll just put our multiplayer titles there instead, and they'll have to deal with that and also use our own store launcher instead of using that Steam thing they always talk about, because the last time they tried to make everybody use a sign-in, we basically just sent them packing along the entire way. So I could see PlayStation doing that. However, though, they're a corporation and they're a company. And the thing is, they are in fact making money off of PC ports. And I really feel like what they're trying to do right now is not make a competitor to Steam, but instead to create an actual online hub where everybody from every platform can play together in one space, regardless of whether it's single player or even multiplayer, not have to use anything else or deviate from their own storefront, which explains them redoing their entire store and also redoing the UI recently, and this entire new job listing as well. PC Gamer on Twitter says this: I bought a PS5 on launch day, but I won't be buying a PlayStation 6, even though its exclusives aren't coming to PC anymore. And personally, a lot of people truly feel this way. People think to themselves, I'm already invested into PC gaming. I'm already putting all my money into Steam. I don't really want to use anything else, and Valve treats me properly. So why would I go to another platform where I have to pay for online? I get, one or two tentpole title games a year, and their multiplayer games are basically being carried by PC gamers, even though Marathon isn't really doing that well either, even now. And I feel that exact same way as well. I'm not going to buy a PS5. I'm not going to buy a PlayStation 6, even if they have exclusives on that platform. There's nothing on there that really entices me to move away from what I already have right now in Steam and on my PC. I'd rather have the company move to me rather than me go to them. And I think that's exactly what PlayStation hasn't figured out yet, and why truly, when they even make their own PC launcher, things may not in fact go as they're trying to plan. But I think the crazier part is not just the fact that people are running with this rumor, but also how they talk about this company as well. With Television Headrest saying this: the PC launcher rumors were from grifters who have certain loyalties. Plus, the sales aren't all that good on the PC side in the first place. If you have the industry's most prestigious brand, protecting it should be #1 priority. Brother, you can absolutely bet this moron is going to be the first one scanning his face and ID and sending it over to PlayStation, talking about the most prestigious brand. Brother, it's a game console. Nothing more, nothing less. And the only thing that companies want to protect is their money and bottom line. And the thing is, they know you're going to spend that money anyways. They know you're already going to buy the console. They know you're already going to buy the games. They don't have to coerce you. All they got to do is make you feel like you're special. Putting your stretched, overlaid face onto a character in the background of a game is all you'll ever need. And they'll go ahead and pick your pocket every single time. And you can talk about alliances and allegiances. Brother, we know the only thing you care about is protecting a multi-billion and multi-trillion dollar corporation. There's no bigger grift than doing that. And clearly, that's where you are right now, my boy. Congratulations. You're a corporate bootlicker. But even with all that happening right now, here's exactly what I think is going to come down. Again, this is all just my speculation, and I could be, in fact, totally wrong. The thing is this: PlayStation recently went ahead and rechanged all of their names from PlayStation Network to just PlayStation, keeping everything all in line, basically beginning their own platform. And now we're having speculation of them going through and having this position to redo their entire storefront server side, basically providing cross communication, cross voice chat, and everything else across multiple different platforms, showing basically me that if this job posting is legit and this is actually going to be going forward, then we could be seeing PlayStation not back away from PC, but instead move away from Steam as well and put all of their games onto their storefront online. You'll probably see the single player games still hit 6 to 8 months or a year after on the console hit the PC storefront, and you'll see all the multiplayer games be there as well. But what they're going to do instead is try to entice you to use their own storefront on PC rather than using things like Discord or Steam as well. That way you can communicate with all of your players, have your PSN sign-in, which is what they've so desperately wanted for the entire time, and then also increase the monthly active users every single launch. And all at the same time, they could possibly even stop or restrict other devices from accessing their storefront, things like the Steam Machine or even Xbox's Project Helix. And I think personally, that's where the play is going to be. Can I be wrong? Absolutely. But from what I'm looking at, this could be the play of what PlayStation is in fact trying to do. Scan your face, get your ID, make you log in, use their platform, and thereby beginning the platform wars of 2026. But you know what? I want to hear what you guys got to say about this in the comment section down below. If PlayStation makes a PC launcher, will you sign up for it? If they ask for your face or scan ID, will you give it? Or are you just going to go ahead and just say no and let them up the creek without a paddle? Again, I want to hear what you got to say. And speaking about what you got to say, here in fact is the comment of the day from yesterday's video. With DJ Nitro Official 8196 saying this: all these companies are forcing me back to retro, while Steam is finding a way to help me stay modern at the same time. DJ Nitro, absolutely. I've been playing way more retro games on my Steam Deck and even more on my PlayStation 2 than I have playing a lot of newer games. And these companies are doing that to more people every single time. And you can bet your sweet bippy it's going to happen to even more. But as always, if you want to see more of this kind of content though, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, and even live streams, subscribe to the channel. If you want Discord access or emotes during those live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. Look, if you don't want to spend the buck, don't sweat it. Just come on down to the live stream Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the channel as I wear a banana suit and get insulted with TTS. It's a hell of a show. You don't want to miss it. Saturday nights, live, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, right here on the channel. Oh, and by the way, before I forget, if you haven't subscribed, check out my other channel, Oh No, It's Alex Gaming. I put out videos every Monday, and I think that's also where I'm going to be live streaming daily, playing games, hanging out. Just hanging out with the community is always going to be a fun time as well. Definitely subscribe. Oh No, It's Alex Gaming. Link to the channels in the description down below. And with all that being said, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!